Hey. What's going on, people? Hey, we're back for another episode. I hate that word. I don't hate. It's a strong word. It's almost like moist or some other word that people don't really care for. Anyways, chapter 5 of part 2 of Introduction to the Devout Life by St. Francis de Sales. So we're going to be doing the considerations, the second part of meditation. So like after you meditate, you consider what you have meditated on, or you think about the things that you were just meditating about. So without further ado, after this exercise of the imagination, we come to that of the understanding. For meditations, properly so called, are certain considerations by which we raise the affections to God and heavenly things. Now, meditation differs therein from study and ordinary methods of thought, which have not the love of God or growth in holiness for their object, but some other end, such as the acquisition of learning or power of argument. So when you have, as I said, limited the effort of your mind within due bounds, whether by the imagination, if the subject be material, or by propositions, if it be spiritual subject, you will begin to form reflections or considerations after the pattern of the meditations I have already sketched for you. And if your mind finds sufficient matter, light and fruit wherein to rest in any one consideration, dwell upon it, even as the bee which hovers over one flower, so long as it affords honey. But if you do not find wherewith to feed your mind after a certain reasonable effort, then go on to another consideration. Only be quiet and simple, and do not be eager or hurried. Okay, so that was kind of denser than maybe it sounds at first. But so let's sum up where he's gone when we're imagining this type of meditation or this type of prayer time. So you're placing yourself in the presence of God, and then you're imagining a scene or a mystery of the life of Christ, say like the baptism in the Jordan or something. And then you're meditating on that scene. And he says to dwell on that, similar to how a bee sits on a flower that would be like as it's pollinating. If there's no pollen in the flower, then the bee's going to move on. But don't be quick to move on. So, this is like the practice of Lectio Divina, where you read scripture 3 times. Once you read it slow and meditate and think about what you just read. The second time you read it a little bit slower and think about what you just read. And then the third time you read it like as slow as you can. And then you sit there and let that stew. Like, I think that's a similar concept to what he's talking about here. You don't want to... I kind of liken this to reading the Bible as if it's like an action story, which it is, don't get me wrong, but when you read it that way, you have the potential to kind of miss what it is. And he does point out that there are some opportunities or times when you would read scripture to learn, not necessarily reading it to pray. Like, you could probably argue that you can do both, but in what he's talking about specifically within this setup, like within the bounds that he has referred to, within due bounds, you want to consider what you're reading or what you're meditating on. Okay, so very often, like some of my favorite mysteries of the Rosary are the sorrowful mysteries. Sorrowful and the joyful are probably my two. Actually, I love them all. But what I find it easiest to meditate on are the sorrowful. Thank you, Jim Caviezel, and the Passion. Like, that movie has been very instrumental, I would say, in my ability to imagine and meditate on the sorrowful mysteries, which are, the agony in the garden, the scourging at the pillar, the crowning of thorns, Jesus carrying his cross, and the crucifixion. So if we put ourselves in these mysteries, don't move too quickly through them. This is something that I'm very bad at, but he says to stop. If you find something that is really speaking to you, just sit there a while and meditate on it. And I know people who do this very well. And I have unfortunately, it's probably like a task-oriented mindset towards how I would like to get things done. Like if I'm praying the rosary, with the family, we got to get the rosary done. And morning prayer, night prayer, reading the Bible, like I have to get this done. It's rare that I actually sit down and think about those mysteries. Like it's different. It's complicated. Life is messy when you've got kids and a family. And I mean, life is messy in general, but throw in crying kids or people being crazy while you're trying to sit there and pray. Like that's not the time that you're really going to be doing the meditating probably, which is important to have other quiet time and silent prayer. But, if we kind of do the things, we're going to assume that when we're doing our meditations, it's an attempt to be serious. Like this is, the devout life is not like, all right, well, we muddle through the rosary and that's what we do. And that's about it. Awesome. It's a great place to start, but we can't give what we don't have. And we need to have that relationship with Christ and that peace that only comes from spending time with him, so that we can take that with us everywhere we go, whether that's, to work or school or, whatever it might be. We need to have that silence and that quiet time, which again is going to look different for everybody. But he does point out here that we should not be eager or hurried. Just be quiet and simple. I struggle with this a lot. Probably not the only one. But if we don't practice it, we're not going to get any better at it. So I'm going to be working on making more quiet time. Exodus 90 is a big help for that, honestly. So I'm excited about that. But if you are struggling with any of these concepts or meditations or anything like that, please shoot me a message on the social medias, on the Patreon page or whatever, somewhere on there, and I would be happy to answer your questions, and if I don't know them, find you the answer. Life is difficult enough as it is. We're all in this together, so I'm praying for you. Please pray for me, and I will catch you next time. St. Francis de Sales, pray for us.